have one question for you, Miss Emily. Do we have control of our lives?
Of course we do. As humans, we have control over what we do, and we have free will. For example, I control everyone at Halsham and every aspect of my own life, from daily tasks to big decisions.
So you don't think anyone else controls or has influence over your choices?
Well, influence and control are two very different things. Influence is like inspiration, and inspiration does not control my thoughts or actions. I have direct control over the Halsham students. I control what they have from sales, what they eat, and what they learn.
So are you saying that you have control of your life? What about the rest of the Hillsham students and everyone else? Do you think they control you in the way that you control them?
Nobody controls me but myself. The rest of the students at Halsham have control over their lives in some sort of different way.
Would you say they have freedom, though?
I would say that they are happy. They're free to be happy. And I'd say that this interview has gone long enough.
Hello, Kathy.
Hello.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
Do we have control over our lives?
You know, if you would have asked me this a long time ago, I would have said yes, but over the past few years, I feel my answer has changed.
Oh, how so?
Well, we all grow up with dreams and aspirations that we feel no one can stop us from. But over the past 12 years of being a carer, I've realized that we all have the same inevitable fate, and that's death.
So because we die, that causes us to not have control in our lives?
It's not the sole reason, but yes. We all, as humans, have free will over ourselves, but we don't have free will over others. We do not control what someone is going to say in response to us. Would you say you're in control of this conversation right now? Do my answers change what you're going to say?
Are you interviewing me now?
Just answer the question.
Well, your questions definitely took this interview for a turn.
For the worst?
No, more for an example of how I tried to lead this interview, but was not able to stay in control of it. You, Kathy, just proved my point that even those with power can't stay in control of their lives.
Hi, Alma. How are you feeling today?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
Good, thank you. I have a question for you. Do we have control over our lives?
I'd say so.
Could you give me an example?
Well, my mom has control of her emotions, and she chooses to be sad. My brother has control of his beliefs, and he chooses to be faithful. And I have control of what I say, and I choose to be realistic.
That's a pretty interesting perspective on control. Do you think you could elaborate on how you keep control in your life?
Well, I choose to be prepared, so that way if I'm ever stuck in the woods or my parachute malfunctions, being prepared gives me a sense of control.
So would you say you have complete control over your life then?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Would you say that you had control when you fell in love?
Sorry.
Hi, Mr. Gursky. How are you doing?
Very good. How are you?
Good as well. Thank you for being here. You've definitely felt many effects from your actions of others throughout your life. Would you say that you felt you have control over your life, though?
Well, it's a difficult question to answer. I would definitely say that my life didn't go how I imagined it when I was 16 years old. Many things have happened that prevented that from actually happening, but I would say how I responded to these problems shaped my life just as much as the problems themselves. So in that way, I did have control over my life.
That was a very well thought out answer. Thank you, Mr. Gursky.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Today we're here with Antoinette Master Giovanni, author of the book Battleship, Board Game or Wake Up.
Thanks for having me today. Really appreciate being on your show.
We appreciate you being here. Now, in the novel, you discuss how the game of Battleship correlates with the amount of control someone might possess over their life. Could you explain that to viewers who might not have read your book?
Of course. As you said, I explained that Battleship, the game, is like the life we live every day. So it's a game where you never truly know the outcome of your decisions until you've made that move that you can never take back.
So how exactly does the game itself relate so closely to our ability to control our lives and be firm in our decision making?
Well, you have control over the moves you make in the game, and you choose the area you believe your opponent's ship is in, correct? However, in the end, you can't control the outcome of the game. So the intention of Battleship is to withhold information from you regarding the placement of your opponent's ships and vice versa, which basically puts both players on an equal playing field of guess and either hit or miss. Just like in life, sure, we make choices that we might feel have the best outcome, but until we put that decision out in the world, we can never actually have full knowledge of the outcome prior to making that decision. We can really only guess the result and hope it ends up being a good one.
Ultimately, what you're saying then is that until we make that move or put a choice out into the world, it's pretty much impossible to control the aftermath of the option you went with?
Yes, but you can use strategy to your advantage. As I explained in my book, you can't control the outcome of the game completely, but you can influence the outcome by process of elimination. So what does that mean? Well, that means if you keep targeting one certain area and it isn't working out for you necessarily, but your opponent continuously sinks your ships, that's because they've got a feel for where you might have placed your pieces and putting you in a position of loss pretty much. So their strategizing has now given them the upper hand in the game. Now the ball's in their court and not in a place of middle ground, which gives both players equal control of the possible end game result.
Wow, very insightful. Last question. For viewers that might have a hard time following this concept, could you explain how this childhood board game is in fact a wake-up call, like stated in the title of your book?
Well, taking the focus off the literal aspect of Battleship, often this opponent, if you will, can be fate for a lot of people. One might think that making a particular decision will promise this hoped-for outcome, and unfortunately for most people that isn't the case. Often we see that though we believe a certain choice promises a specific result, we end up wrong because we only control what we put out into the world, not what we get back or the response, which shows that we have control over our ability to try and have our life be a certain way, but we can't control how our life specifically turns out, just like the game Battleship.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Antoinette.
Well, thank you for having me, Mo.
Harold impatiently waited for the interview.
Sorry I'm late.
Hi, Harold. Hello.
Harold thought this was going to be an unbearable interview.
Harold, do you think we have control of our lives?
Control? Yes, of course. I control every move in my life.
But in his mind, Harold questioned if he really believed what he was saying.
Everything? Every feeling?
Yep, pretty much. Everything from how many times I brush my teeth to how many steps it takes me to get to the bus stop.
What if I say something unaccounted for came up?
Unaccounted for?
Harold's mind flooded with many ideas.
Yeah, like something you did not plan to happen and affected control in your life. For example, falling in love with someone.
Oh, I doubt that would happen. The only people I see are my clients and coworkers. Although, your question took me for a curve. I guess if something different occurred, I would go for it.
Go for it?
Yes, go for it. Control is all relative, right? You may be able to control your own life, but you can't really control how others will affect you. I've changed my mind. My new answer is that control is all relative.
Harold got up from the interview chair and excitedly ran off.